had a great stay. We've been here since Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been fantastic.
Get into the building through this hole.
Wait.
Danielle Colby was holding American Pickers together while parts of her own life were quietly falling apart. Fans saw the tattoos, confidence, and fearless attitude, but never the emotional struggles and painful moments Danielle was dealing with behind the scenes. The woman viewers thought could handle anything was carrying far more than anyone realized, and some of her darkest moments happened while the show was still at its peak. So, what was Danielle Colby going through during her years on American Pickers? And why are fans only now learning how difficult her life became away from the spotlight? Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking truth behind Danielle Colby's hidden struggles. The Lady of the Show. American Pickers was fueled by intense energy, with the dynamic duo of Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz scouring the United States for rusty gold. But as they basked in the spotlight as the obvious stars of the show, most crew members, like Danielle Colby, faded into oblivion. She never disappeared. She loved the spotlight just as much as Mike and Frank, and she fearlessly played right into the scenes. But before the fame and American Pickers glitz, what does anyone really know about the Lady of the Show? Born in Davenport, Iowa, Danielle was raised in a religious family of Jehovah's Witnesses, and growing up under such a strict structure shaped her into a go-getter with a die-hard spirit. Before fame, she had a completely different life. At first, her life was quiet and patterned to follow a strict set of rules. But it wasn't long before she figured out that she was not made for that life. She loved a bit more controlled chaos and artistic freedom. She wanted an environment where no one told her what to do or shoehorned her into roles that just didn't suit her. Not very Jehovah's Witness-like now, was it? But before she even discovered her niche as the Queen of Rust, she found an affinity for tattoos. One look at Danielle, and the first thing that comes to mind is her bogus tattoos. But how did a Jehovah's Witness girl develop a love for ink? In an interview, she revealed that her grandfather ignited a love for inks in her. He was in the Navy and was covered in tattoos. But the one that really caught Danielle's attention as a kid was the Statue of Liberty inked right on her grandfather's forearm. Although she really considered herself a free spirit, she was not totally against a more measured lifestyle. And that's when it all started. She finally found love and got married. But by 2004, she already had 2 divorces and 2 kids. Sources close to her claimed that she remained haunted by the ghosts of her past relationships. But while she struggled with her heartbreaks, there was no stopping her. She moved like a freight train and went for what she wanted. And it all started with her friendship with Mike, becoming the soul of American Pickers. For years, many critics have asked the same question. How did Danielle ever find her way into American Pickers, let alone become an inseparable part of it? Before the show, Danielle already led a life of her own. In 2004, the same year she got married, she started a whole new career. And you would never be able to guess it. But that was always her biggest strength. She wasn't rash, she was unpredictable. Does anything sell more than spontaneity in show business? Maybe not. For a while, she thought she had finally found a career that suited her to perfection, so she pursued it tirelessly, and even founded Burlesque Le Moustache, her own crew of burlesque performers, who enjoyed the originality of artistic expression. But even though she seemed to have found her purpose and enjoyed parenting on the side, it just always felt like she could be more. Now, this was where Mike came into the picture. Mike and Danielle go way back. Danielle claimed they met at a yard sale in LeClaire, Iowa, where she was looking to buy a lamp just up the street from her mother's house. But she wasn't the only one with an eye for the good stuff. Mike was just as crazy about antiques. Maybe that definitely comes with the collector territory. But right before she could make a move, he bought the lamp. Well, Danielle wasn't having it, so she laid into him on the spot, but he cared very little about the rant. And just like that, they got closer, even dated for some time, and then ended up as platonic friends. But relationships don't just go away, do they? Mike needed a trusted hand, a steady Eddie who could deal with the pressure of running an antique store. So, he reached out to her, and she accepted his proposal to manage his antique store, Antique Archaeology, in 2009. The store was shaping up into a serious team. Different personalities, each with their own scars and daily struggles. But at the time, they nursed their tragedies away from the camera. But everything changed in 2010. Mike had big dreams. He wanted a show on television where he could travel throughout America with his old friend Frank Fritz while they hunt for forgotten American treasures. It didn't matter if it was a motorbike from the Second World War, old video games, or the first collection of old Dr. Pepper bottles. As long as it was old and was an important part of history, Mark was interested, and Danielle made sure to log it in. And just like that, the History Channel bought into the idea. But as Mike and Frank spearheaded the show, Danielle pulled her own weight. She kept the logs, tracked historical information on rare items, and scouted possible leads to set Mike and Frank on the right path. But while she showed up and showed off on American Pickers, she had her own demons. Although she had fought them away from the spotlight for a long time, fame got everyone else involved. So, what exactly was she going through behind the scenes? The Rust Queen forced into a reset. Danielle had very quickly built a reputation on American Pickers as the fierce tattooed lady who always got her way. Not through force or some brutal show of strength. Her greatest feature was her wit, and maybe even that bit of history with Mike, too. So when the atmosphere thickens with tension, her quick wits help to dampen the testosterone and alpha male egos. She was the glue that the show didn't know that it had. Needed. But what happens when illnesses begin to plague the person that keeps things balanced and running? At first, she played it cool, going to work as if nothing had happened and keeping the antique shop running in the background like it was just another Wednesday. But Danielle was too much fun to miss. Fans often watched out for her and waited for the cameras to turn in her direction. Since she seldom made that many on-screen appearances, each one counted. Fans took it all in and paid a lot more attention to her presence. The viewers noticed very quickly that she coyly avoided the cameras. Her energy seemed off, and the vibe was not the same old, slick, quick-witted Rush. Hiding her pain behind the scenes was suddenly no longer an option. So in 2022, she revealed the truth about her health and her need for a reset. She had been going through the pains of uterine fibroids, and while she did her best to keep its effect on her mood and her ability to do her job off the screen, she already introduced fans to a vibe, and they expected her to keep it that way. But everything changed when she disappeared. There was no news or interview, just silence. She had no choice but to undergo a hysterectomy. But even before fans noticed, she struggled behind closed doors with continuous bleeding, especially during her menstrual cycle. It seemed like I was always bleeding. It was always an excruciating amount of pain, feeling like I was being held back from a lot of opportunities because I couldn't figure out how to control the amount of pain I was living with, she said. Yet life wasn't done with her. More pain behind closed doors. While 2022 did seem like the rockiest patch of her life, she found her way back into the fold, ready to continue her job in the shop and give the fans everything they had missed. The joy lasted for a while, But life had a whole new heartbreak planned for her. After her illness in 2022, leading to her appearing sparsely on the show, there were rumors about her death. Although she made no move to debunk them at the time, choosing to suffer in silence instead, 2024 was different. Maybe hope does kill, but mystery also has no benefits, especially in a health struggle. At least she knew she needed a hysterectomy in 2022 and was certain that she was suffering from it. However, her mysterious disappearance from the show in 2024 came with no warning. And yet again, she was missing from the show. Imagine having to halt the things you love to do because of a nameless sickness. Her disappearances on American Pickers were no longer a secret. And just like that, twice in 2 years, she was missing in action. It wasn't long before the rumor mill went into overdrive, churning out one vague piece of news after another. Some sources claimed that she had died, and others just suggested that she was in a toxic relationship with Mike, who finally threw her out of the show. The longer she stayed away from the show, the stronger the rumors got. While she did find fame in American Pickers and faced more scrutiny from fans who wanted her availability at all costs, her struggles dribbled into other parts of her life, especially her career in burlesque. In 2024, she had no choice but to cancel her scheduled programs for her burlesque show. While she had chosen silence despite the damaging rumors about her, she clapped back in 2025, and it was wild. She claimed that a serious illness plagued her family. However, she did not think she owed the details to anyone. She preferred to be by her family's side. Her revelation came as a shock, but not for the reason you think. Although Danielle was famous, she often kept her private life away from the media. For context, except for the 50-year-old herself and maybe close insiders, not one blog or media outlet knows the exact name of her first husband. It is often reported as either Chad Cushman or Robert Strong. So why would a woman who loves mystery as such decide to finally open up about the reason for her disappearance? But it gets even more reflective. In April 2025, she reflected on an Instagram post, claiming that she was in very bad health when she wore her burlesque costume. This night in this photo was extremely painful and frightening. But I survived it, and I cannot wait to wear this costume again with much more confidence and peace, she reminisced. Although she had been absolutely destroyed for her unexplained disappearance in 2024, fans clamored for her return. Her presence felt like the missing link that bridged the shop and the fast-paced side of the show. While she did return, something else lurked in the shadows, something even more daring this time. Frank had finally left the show in 2021 following some health concerns. He had a back problem and a surgery to stitch him back together in one piece. But for some reason, he never returned until his demise in September 2024. How did Danielle carry that weight? The misery piles. It is superbly difficult to imagine American Pickers without Frank. He was the perfect blend of brain, brawn, and some seriously self-deprecating humor. While the show initially thrived on Mike and Frank's journey around the United States, the thrill of the hunt, and the joy of discovery, fans' curiosity shifted into something deeper. The emotions, their insecurities, their fears, and their feelings. Every loss of an antique was felt deeply by the crew and the fans. Now imagine what death could do to them. Frank's demise shattered Danielle into smithereens. Just like Danielle, he was a foundational player on whom the History Channel built the show. So long-term fans of the franchise felt his death deeply. But was it anything compared to what Mike and Danielle felt? Before his unfortunate demise in September 2024, Frank did make some really harsh comments about the show, specifically describing Mike as a simple work partner and not a friend. Mike didn't call me himself. Never, like I said. We haven't spoken for 2 years, Frank revealed. His claims hit too close to home. Danielle was one of the few links that kept their egos in check and kept the show running with both men at the helm for a long time. Already, she had battled uterine fibroids in 2022 and had to leave the spotlight completely to take care of her family, owing to some mysterious illness in 2024. So how does a woman who had been through so much handle the pain of a loss that heavy? Sources close to the situation described her as broken, claiming that her prolonged hiatus from the spotlight in 2024 had as much to do with Frank as it did with her family. On July 6, 2025, she finally spoke about the effect of Frank's death on her and the show. But why was she so eager to reveal what she felt about him? It was Danielle's specialty. Even though she loved her private life and kept it guarded from television, she never sold herself as a goody two-shoes with the perfect life. She let fans see glimpses of her weaknesses, her imperfections, and her fears. Boy, we miss Frank. I think his sense of humor was the most important piece of his personality that really kept us together and kept things on the same track, she retorted. But even as her misery piled up and felt almost like life couldn't stop kicking her, she wasn't alone in it. Mike was equally broken. They were the perfect trifecta, and Frank also provided that rough-edged balance that the team needed. But his demise left too many question marks about the reality of the relationship the trio really had. Frank did claim to feel disregarded and treated like he didn't matter as much as Mike. However, Mike debunked the claims, revealing that they mended broken bridges, and he was by his bed, holding his hands before he drew his last breath. Obviously, certain fans doubted his loyalty to Frank, and others suggested that Danielle must have been whispering in his ears. Even though Mike does not exactly come off as a puppet, his dating history with the Queen of Rust seems enough for their critics. Although life seemed to spiral downhill for Danielle, especially since 2022, how exactly has she moved on since she turned 50? A legacy and a half. Danielle has endured an up-and-down career as a television star and also a burlesque creator. But one thing was certain. She was never the type to give up. In 2025, she revealed her decision to the public, hinting at returning to the spotlight fully. Although she continued filming American Pickers, she started to make bigger moves in her burlesque career. So on June 19, 2025, she took on a huge burlesque project. She opened up a museum at 322 Brady Street, Davenport. The new museum featured exhibits from her collection. But why does she want a legacy in the world of burlesque so badly? Despite her fame as the Queen of Rust, she claims the combination of celebrating the body and learning about the history of burlesque is what captured her heart. I think that's what drew me in. When you're celebrating the art of the tease or ecdysiast arts or burlesque, you're really celebrating your own body and the vehicle you live in, and you're really educating yourself about the history and the process, she explained. But more than her career, she watched her family go through a plight that almost broke them in 2024. So, survival became an instinct she just couldn't shake off. And one of them was having the support of her family in a career she had invested so much into. Although her love life has been incredibly unstable, she did find love again when she met Jeremy Schuch, a photographer. They got married in 2024, the year she turned 49. While she had had her heart broken so many times, from her first marriage to Fran's demise, Jeremy and her children, Memphis and Miles, kept her grounded. For the first time in a long time, at 50 years old, she felt what it was like to have a complete family. Watching the kids and Jeremy all helping out to build towards a legacy she can look back on forever. Yet maybe that was the most intriguing thing about Danielle's legacy. For many years, fans only saw the confidence, the scarlet tattoos, the sarcastic comments, and her preference for they/them pronouns. However, she was a woman who was rebuilding her life after every heartbreak and failure and crafting the future she wanted for herself. Maybe that was her legacy all along. Do you think Danielle's difficult journey shaped her enough to build a legacy? Did she make the right move to dive into a marriage at 50? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.